Welcome everyone tonight, and we're going to continue our lecture, Body-Mind Connection Part 4. So this is the last lecture of this series, but the next lecture is going to be kind of a continuation of some thoughts which I'll be sharing today. I'll be working more on those in details in the following lectures. But it will just be kind of a different approach we will have in the future lectures, because all these series of lectures we kind of always were referring back to how the body and mind is connected, and how the body affects the mind and how the mind affects the body. And we discussed about the connection and how the positive mood, how the negative mood influences our body, and how faith and even prayer can help body self-healing. And we discussed about how important that we have a positive mood, how important that we believe in a natural treatment when we do it, so it increases its influence, its positive effect on our body. We also discussed about stress. We discussed about a little bit about how our diet affects our brain capacity, and vice versa. So today we'll be continuing this subject, and how is our brain can help us to choose a right things for our body. Sometimes wisdom needs a backup, a knowledge, and a lack of knowledge makes us to do mistakes, to do errors. Many things are coming from a wisdom which, by comparing one thing to another, and some people are wiser, some people are developing this skill, and some people are lazy in their brain and they don't work on that. And as soon as they know 2 by 2 equals 4, they think they know something. But sometimes even this basic, if we don't know that 2 by 2 equals 4, if we don't know it, we fail, or we may fail, not only in a business, but I'm talking about the health issues. What is disease? We're going to talk about disease. Many people, when we talk about disease, and sometimes they get a headache and says, "Oh, I'm sick." Can we call a headache to be sick? Is it right or wrong? We're going to talk about that. Some people, when they get a flu, they say, "Oh, I'm so ill." Actually, I looked in the dictionary, and you know that the word ill is not appropriate for the flu. If you get a cancer, then you are ill. But the flu, you're just sick. You're not ill. And I'm not going to talk in English grammar, because even my grammar needs a lot of improvement. Okay, let us start with a definition from the dictionary. Disease, a disordered or incorrectly functioning organ, part, structure, or system of the body that produces specific signs or symptoms and is not simply a direct result of physical injury. Like if you get in a car accident and you have an injury, that's not a disease, because that was a direct physical injury. So if I cut my finger with a knife, like cutting a carrot, that's not a disease. But if there is infection there in a wound, and that creating problems, that is an effect of a physical injury. That is a kind of a result of not taking proper care of a wound, but it's still not a disease. So disease is something what happens to our body, a part or an organ or the whole system, or nervous system or gastroenteral system, or whatever lymphatic system, whatever system you choose, the whole system or a part of it, or just a tissue, or sometimes it starts just within a little part of a certain organ, and then it affects one organ, and then like a chain, another one, and then another one, and then the whole body. So it reveals itself through symptoms and signs. So what is symptoms and what is signs? Speaking about the disease, signs is something what I see in somebody. Like if you see somebody with a red eye and speaking with a voice, like kind of going through the, blocked nose, like speaking like this, or, just with a running nose. So it's a signs what you see, and it says, are you okay? You got a flu? So by signs, you recognize certain diseases. By yellowish eye, you can recognize, you have a liver problem. But if you see a person pallid, you say, did you had a good sleep? What is your, kind of, how do you feel it? Because immediately you're thinking about something, maybe, it's a bad sleep, or some blood problems, that not enough oxygenation of a body, because must be a reason why the person looks pale. Symptoms is what we realize, and is actually when we go to doctor, he's asking, how do you feel? And when you begin to describe, that's the symptoms. Or I have a headache, that's a symptom. And I have nausea, that's a symptom. And I have high fever, that's a symptom. And all these symptoms, they are something what the doctor is using to diagnose or to filter out certain diseases, and he narrows down to one particular disease. And then the treatment begins. For better understanding, for example, symptoms of a heart attack, pain, fullness, or squeezing sensation of the chest. That's a symptom. That's what people who went through heart attack, that's how they describe, that's how they felt before they ended up in emergency. Jaw pain, toothache, headache, or pain in the arm, or pain in the left back. Then shortness of breath, this is a symptom. Nausea, vomiting, or general epigastric discomfort, like something. Some people say, "Oh, I feel like a stone in abdominal area," or "I feel like something heavy is here." So just a general discomfort, a general not feeling well in this area. So this is a symptom. Sweating, heartburn, or indigestion. So this is symptoms. And when people have these symptoms, based on these symptoms, we narrow or we filter out certain diseases, and we narrow to a certain one which may match to this description. And there are several diseases which match this description. And then we need a diagnostic. So we need a blood test, we need a EKG, or whatever we need, some extra, lab tests to specify and to narrow and to point what is our actual problem. So you got the idea, what is symptoms, right? Why we get sick? What do you think? Why we get sick? Well, first of all, because Eve took a forbidden fruit, And this is why we get sick today, and this is why we die. But I'm not going to speak that general. I'm going to speak more, a little bit more in details. So, being mortal, living in this world of sorrow and sin and diseases and infections and all, whatever problem you name it, why we get sick? There are several reasons. Genetic errors. There are several diseases which are passed from mother to a child, and they're genetically transmitted. So the child has nothing to do with it. It's not because child had a wrong diet. It's not because the child, was abusing his or her body. Baby got it because mom had it. Like, for example, hepatitis B. Innocent child gets it from his mother. Infections, poisons, nutritional deficiencies and or imbalances, unfavorable environmental factors. So, if speaking about the reasons why we get sick, there are certain reasons which we can control, and there are certain reasons which we can partially control, and there are certain reasons what we cannot control. Like genetic errors, can we control that? No. Infections, can we control that? Partially, yes. Like washing our hands, washing the vegetables and fruits, can we control that? Yes, we can. So it's partially controllable, but can you control that you never get a bite from a bug, for example? No, and you have to deal with it. Like, for example, Lyme disease. You cannot control that. Poisons. Mostly you can control. Well, poison ivy or when a snake bites you, I'm not talking about that, because that is not a disease. We've discussed about that. That is a physical injury to our body. So it's against our will injection of a poison like a snake bite or a poison ivy. That's something what we can control if we are careful. But it's not a disease. It's a result of an attack of a nature, wild nature, attacks our body. Nutritional deficiencies or imbalances, can we control that? Oh yes, that we can control. And this is why mostly we are going to talk about that, because this is really under our control. We can control that. Unfavorable environmental factors. This is the work where you work, the situation, your colleagues, your co-workers, their attitude to you. All these form the environment. Where do you work? How noisy is your place of work? And that is partially controllable, partially not. Sometimes you have a very horrible boss, but you have to live with it because you need to feed your family. So, as I said, it's controllable, and from one end, it's not controllable. Or sometimes we willingly, because we want that bigger salary, we sacrifice something. Disease is a chain of critical events. It's like a domino effect. You just push one, and then that one push another one, and then the third one push the fourth one, and so on until all of them lay down. This is somehow, this is the best illustration how we get sick. Let me bring you an illustration. We can compare our body to a very complicated aircraft. You know how thousands and hundreds of thousands of little tiny wires in that aircraft, and every wire has to be connected, and every wire is responsible for a certain signal, for a certain area, for a certain, checking or, whatever. It's a very complicated machine. And this is a very beautiful aircraft, Concorde. But one day, July 5, in 1985, Air France Concorde got in flames as it was taking off. And it crashed about 2 kilometers from the airport over the hotel, killing all aboard 109 people and 4 people on the ground. But you know that the cause of that disaster, or a cause of our human body when we get sick, sometimes it's so unpredictable, it's so surprising that you say, well, we could never think that that may be a cause. You know what was the real cause? That little metal strip laying on the ground. Just before this Concorde was about to take off, another DC-10 aircraft took off flying towards New Jersey from France. And from vibration, it lost this tiny little piece of metal. And as the Concorde was taking speed and it's about to take off, there was a tremendous forces on the tires. And as it drove over this piece of metal, one of the tires exploded, erupted. And piece of a rubber with such a force hit the wing where was the tanks with the fuel. And from that vibration, it was such a strong vibration that it lost a valve, and fuel began to come up. And as the airplane was taking off, you know that heated gas ignited that fuel. And of course the airplane crashed. So you see, improper maintenance of completely another aircraft, which belonged to a completely different air company. So poor maintenance on somebody's aircraft, and maybe that man lived in US who did the maintenance to that DC-10. But the accident happened where? In France, to the Air France aircraft. That's what may happen to our body. Sometimes we get sick, but the cause of that is far back in a history. Maybe we were very young and we were even not taking count of what we were eating or drinking, or maybe we were not even thinking that that may bring a problem later on. And as we get older, we get problems. But what triggered that problems, maybe when we were when we were students, or maybe when we were children. Maybe my grandma triggered that problem, giving me a wrong food, or giving me too many chocolates, or whatever, you know. I'm just bringing you this, I brought this story for you to understand that cause and effect principle is not something that you ate and tomorrow you're sick. Because some people, they eat junk food, I'm feeling fine. 3 years, 5 years passes, 10 years passes, they still feel fine. Not everybody who eats junk food gets obese. No. And people think that if they maintain their body shape, it means that they're fine. And they think that they inherited that good, strong body, and their body is able to deal with it. So if somebody gets sick because he eats junk food, I'm fine. Until one day they end up in emergency. And then as they read the list, what the doctors found in them, it says, well, your bones are too weak. You need to drink this to strengthen your bones. Well, you almost have a diabetes, so you need to drink this. So you just had a heart attack, and your blood vessels are clogged with the cholesterol, so you need to drink this. And you have problems with the liver, so you need a cleansing, so you need to drink this. And to avoid the side effect of that, you need to drink this. And people suddenly end up with a handful of pills, what they have to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But they were just fine yesterday. So you see, pushing one, it may take 30 years when the last one will hit him. I mean, going this circle as you see on the image. It may take 5 years. It may take a couple days. It depends. We did not inherit the same body strength or the same amount of resources in our body. So everybody is different from his neighbor, husband from wife. Everybody we have inherited tendencies to certain diseases. And we cannot get out of that. So looking at our parents, so if my mom had a problem with a stomach, like an ulcer, if my grandma had the same problem, so what should I be aware of? Eating properly, eating on time, because I might have the same problem if I will keep up with their lifestyle. So let me bring you a practical example. What do you know about the stomach ulcer? It's actually a wound inside the stomach. It's very painful. If untreated properly, in many cases, it brings to stomach cancer. If not properly treated. It may cause a lot of suffering. And people who have a stomach ulcer, they suffer a lot. Not only from pain, but they cannot, they have digestion problems, they have problems going to the restroom, and it brings a lot of, a bouquet of problems. Looking at the medical dictionaries, looking at this, most popular literature, what causes a stomach ulcer? An infection with a bacterium which is called Helicobacter pylori. If you take the most popular literature, or if you take all these, stands, if you go to hospital and read these stands on the walls, this is what the main reasons they bring. An infection with a bacterium. Long-term use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, such as aspirin and ibuprofen. Smoking. Family history of stomach ulcer, like a genetic tendency or predestination to have that disease if you don't take a proper care of yourself. Being over 50 years old, this is really funny for me, sounds, So, they bring the age as a reason for disease. Well, it's funny for me, but that's what they say. Excessive consumption of alcohol. Now, I'll bring an example of my mother. I don't know about the Helicobacter, I know, but let's suppose that I don't know about the Helicobacter pylori, about that bacteria. My mom was never using these anti-inflammatory drugs. She never smoked. In her family, her mother was not suffering from a stomach ulcer, neither her father. She was in her 40s, not 50s. She never used alcohol. Why she get a stomach ulcer? Well, that must be just the only reason, the bacterium. Let's talk about that. Chain of critical events. So one triggers another, the second triggers the third, and so on. Let's talk. Our body is about 70% consists of what? Water. Water. Did you know that we breathe out about from 14 to 15 ounces of water per day, just breathing out? Then we also lose water with sweat, not as much. And the most we lose water with urine. So about, you see, just about 1 pound of water goes out with the breathing out or sweating. So per day, if it's a hot day, we lose about a gallon of water. I mean, a hot day. I'm talking about a hot day. No, in the winter we don't lose a gallon of water. Now, next, human stomach. In the human stomach, it has a layers of muscles. I'm not going to talk in details about anatomy. But what I want to point, as you see here, this is a kind of a cell, and how inside the human stomach is covered with a gastric mucin gel. It's kind of a gel which consists of proteins, and 98% is water. So 2% is proteins, 98% is water. So basically what those proteins do, they just hold that water together, creating some kind of a gel. Why we need that gel? That gel protects the walls of a stomach from being digested with the acids. Because stomach, in order to digest food, specifically the proteins, they're started, and the digestion of proteins is started in a stomach. The stomach cells produce acid, and that acid would eat out the stomach. So the stomach can be digested by those acids. But it's not digested because it's protected by this gel, mucus. What happened next? Our eating and drinking habits affect that. So as I spoke before, we lose water through breathing out, sweating, urine. Do we get the same amount of water inside? Some people, they don't have a habit to drink enough water. So, in the morning, people wake up, and instead of drinking a glass of water, they don't drink that glass of water. But did they went to bathroom before they go to work? Did they left a certain amount of urine there? So before they go to work, they go to bathroom. But before they go to work, did they had a glass of water to refill? That's a question. Now the lunchtime comes, and you feel hungry. I just need to finish this. and instead of eating having a good lunch, we eat nothing, or we eat chips. Which chips, they are salty, and salt needs what? To balance out water. So if we eat salty nuts or salty crackers or salty chips, it has everything, all this junk has a lot of excess, too much of a salt. And that salt, when it gets absorbed into blood, it has to be leveled, because the blood, saltiness of a blood, and the level of acids in the blood, it's a constant level. It cannot go up or down. So, and body levels that with the water. So if body doesn't have enough water to level that, to eliminate that excessive amount of salt, body must get it from somewhere. From where? Do you think that body will take water from brain? No, brain is the most important organ. So in this case scenario, body is willing to sacrifice other organs which are not that important. Body will get water from this mucus in the stomach. And mucus gets thinner. And over the years, people, instead of having a real breakfast, they just drink a cup of coffee. Do you know that coffee is actually stimulating acid production in the stomach? So, stomach is ready for breakfast. Instead of receiving breakfast, it receives another extra stimulation to produce more acid while food is not coming in. And over the years, that mucus gets thinner and thinner and thinner. And suddenly we feel kind of a discomfort in this area. A little bit of a pain or something, just something. That, oh, probably I'm just very tired. I'll just get another cup of coffee. And people don't eat throughout the day, and for the dinner they're hungry. And guess what? They come home and they eat a piece of a meat with a spicy, and they abuse the stomach. And over the years, that mucus gets thinner and thinner, until one day we are diagnosed with an ulcer. Now, tell me, how or where we can fit here the bacterium Helicobacter pylori? What this bacteria had to do with my stomach ulcer? Nothing. And the fact is that this bacteria was found in many people who were completely healthy with their stomach, and they had neither signs of a gastritis, neither stomach ulcer in their history. And they do have that bacteria. So why that bacteria is not causing problem to them, while other people, they do have problem? So the reality is, it's not about the bacteria. Bacteria would never get access to the walls, to that cell epithelium, to the tissue of our stomach walls, if we would have enough mucus to protect. But because there is no mucus, because we destroyed by wrong habits of drinking and eating, we destroyed that mucus over the years. Bacteria has a very easy access and then causes inflammation. So can we consider bacteria as the main cause? No. The main cause is a lack of a mucus. Why there is a lack of mucus? Because it was destroyed. We didn't have breakfast on time. We didn't have lunch on time. Every time we mingle with the eating clock, we are creating problems. And it's not like if I have my lunch at 1 and just today, as an exception, I ate it at 4. Nothing will happen. But if I have today at 12, tomorrow at 4, the day after tomorrow at 3, and then 11, and then nothing, and then 1, and every day is different time, what happens? Stomach doesn't know any longer when to produce acid, and just produces acids, just in general, because he never knows when the food may come. So acid is produced. I drink a cup of coffee in the morning, which stimulates more acid production, while the food is not coming in. And guess what that acid does? As long as we have the mucus, nothing. But if I'm under stress, remember the last lecture a month ago, what stress does to our body? You remember the cortisol, the hormone, which is produced during the stress, closes the blood access to the abdominal area, to the stomach, to the intestine, slows down the digestion and redistributes the blood and sends the blood to the muscles, to the brain. So if I'm at work and my boss gives me a hard time and I'm under stress, the blood is not coming to my stomach. So acid is produced, blood is not coming, there is not enough water, and if I don't drink enough water, my brain needs water. Where my body is going to get it from? From that mucus, because it's a lot of water there. For emergency, it's more than enough. And over the years, suddenly I end up in hospital, bleeding ulcer. So I need a surgery. What is the most popular treatment? Antibiotics to kill Helicobacter pylori. And antibiotics always has a side effect. But we'll talk about antibiotics next lecture in a month. Antacids. So pills which blocks the production of acids. Painkillers, because we suffer from severe pain. And many other, according to the symptoms. Because many of these drugs, they have side effects. And to balance their side effects, we need other things to drink. So finally, that's our breakfast. Or before the breakfast, we have to take that many. Now, I just explained you the history, how a person gets a stomach ulcer. Now, in order to do the right treatment of a stomach ulcer, I'm just choose this disease to discuss with you in details so you may understand the cause and effect principle, how it works. Now, if we ended up having a stomach ulcer, now we know the real reasons. And the real reasons was improper diet, not enough drink, not eating on time, too much coffee, too much stress without balancing it with the liquid. So in order to treat it well, what do we need? Antibiotics? No. What we need? First of all, we need to start to drink excessive amount of water. That's number one. Second, we have to start immediately to eat on a certain time. 5 to 10 minutes plus minus. If our lunch is set of 1 o'clock, no later than 1:10 p.m. we have to eat our lunch. We have to eliminate food which stimulates the acid production, coffee and spices. You see, it's so simple. And in every disease, if you take, not every, I'm not talking about the infection disease. I'm talking about the diseases which are developed due to our wrong or not proper maintenance of our human body. As a result of that, we get heart problems, we get stomach problems, we get liver problems, intestine problems, and many other headaches. The problem is that we are in such a system that we are treating symptoms instead of the cause. Let me bring you an example. In Holland, in Europe, people eat a lot of fish, a lot. Logically, they should be very healthy in the bones because they get that what called, according to the traditional understanding, a lot of calcium from the fish, which is believed is very easily absorbed in the intestine. So they should be one of the nations which have with a very strong bones. But what the scientists found out, they actually one of the nations who suffers the most from the bones problems, I mean weak bones. This is nonsense. How come these people consume so much of calcium and they have problem with the bones? And they found out that the calcium which comes from animal products, the more we consume calcium from animal products, the more we need our body calcium to eliminate that excessive amount of calcium. So if we eat a lot of cheese, which is rich in calcium, to eliminate that calcium, our body needs to use another kind of calcium to eliminate that one. And guess where our body takes that calcium from? From our bones. This is why the best calcium we need is in carrot, is in wholesome bread, it's in cabbage leaves, it's broccoli. That's the calcium we need. That's the calcium which does not need to be eliminated from our body, but is absorbed and stored in our bones. But instead of changing the diet, what people do? They go to health food store and having already excessive amount of calcium from the animal products, they begin to use pills, food supplements with the calcium because I need to strengthen my bones, which instead of strengthening the bones, does nothing. This is why the best food supplements is broccoli, raw carrot, raw cabbage, cauliflower, fruits and vegetables, raw. This is the best food supplements. But we'll talk about that some other time in details. In many cases, the body can heal itself. In many cases. Even the cancer disease, when it's diagnosed on time, if we change the diet, if we do the cleansing, the body can heal itself. I know many people, I met them personally, who were about to die, and they are alive till today because they changed their diet, because they wanted to live, and they still live. Well, I'm not going to discuss now what to do in case of a cancer. That you need advice of those people who have experience, and those people, kind of licensed naturopathic doctors who can really give you an advice what to do. So I cannot go beyond what I'm licensed to tell you, to say that way. Right diet, less problem. I just explained to you, like those people in Holland, how come that they eat a lot of calcium and they have problems with calcium, with weak bones? We have to understand one thing. Diet is something what we just once have to take care of. And once we set a proper diet, once we formed a good habits in diet, it's not something that you are stressed every day. Okay, I have to eat healthy. I have to eat broccoli. I have to eat cauliflower. Did I get my beans? Did I get my carrot? Do you think that I and my wife and all of us here, do you think that every day I'm counting, okay, I have to eat 5 walnuts. Okay, I have to eat 2 ounces of carrot. Okay, I have to eat, 1 piece of a broccoli. Okay, I have to eat. No, we are not eating that way. Today, I eat watermelon as much as I can. Tomorrow, we eat a salad from a carrot, just carrot. And maybe the next time I will be eating carrot somewhere next week. But the day after tomorrow, I'm going to eat a lot of lettuce and cucumbers. And then tomatoes. And then I'm going to eat a lot of apples next day. This is what I call a balanced diet. Because if you create, don't create out of your diet an idol. Because otherwise you need to worship your diet. Your diet should not consume or make a stress for you. It may be stressful if you're changing your diet. Giving up something what you really liked, you really enjoyed, and find the proper substitute. It's a challenge. But once you do that switch, once you switch to a proper diet, you don't have to be stressed every day, like, okay, so much calories, okay, I need to eat that, I need to eat that, and you have a whole list what you need to eat every day. Our body has ability to store vitamins and many other healthy ingredients. This is why today you eat one, tomorrow you eat another, the day after tomorrow you need something else. So don't repeat the same dish or the same fruit or the same kind of salad every day, because you will come to a point that you will look at that food or that dish or that salad or that fruit or vegetable and says, yuck. You will look with a hate toward that dish or salad or fruit or vegetable. Bring a variety, and variety will keep you happy. Now, speaking about maintaining our body, give it what it needs. Some people, they work too much, and lack of sleep causes a lot of problems with their health. They need rest. While some other people, they need to get out of their house and do the exercise. They're sitting too much on their couch. So just think about yourself and see what you need more. You need more of rest or you need more of exercise? Find yourself. Help your body to stay well. This is in your hands. And body can self-heal from many problems. Just find a cause. Don't treat the symptoms. If you have a headache, find the reason. There must be a reason why you have a headache. And most often, most likely, the reason is overeating, lack of liquid in the body. You know, it's a funny story. A patient comes to a doctor, says, "Doctor, I have a headache." And the doctor was asking about how much you eat, what you eat, and how much you drink. Says, "Oh no, I don't like to drink water." So you need to drink water. So in a week, a person comes and says, "Doctor, I'm feeling very well now. Thank you very much." "Well, $100. For what? You know, a patient, you know, gets upset, you know, $100 just for advice to drink water? Yes. $1 for advice. $99 because you didn't know that you need to drink water. So $1 is for your visit, and $99 is for sharing the information with you. So this is why, you know, study, read, you know, study your body, study yourself, and find out more and more about yourself. And not everything is good for everybody. Somebody can like beans, somebody cannot stay with the beans, just cannot take it. Somebody can eat raw apples a lot. Somebody cannot eat raw apples because they feel kind of a disturbance in the stomach after that. So it means that they can eat only one small piece of a raw apple. And if you feel disturbance, eat it with a bread. So let's make a conclusion. If you have a problem, find a reason. Go to a doctor, do your lab test, do your checking, find the reason. Ask your doctor. Don't be, don't play this, false respect. Ask as many questions as you can your doctor. Demand him or her to tell you what's wrong with you. If they don't know what's wrong with you, change the doctor. Because a good doctor, sometimes it's hard to diagnose. There are some rare diseases, some rare problems, especially when the problems are combined. And when the problems are combined, you just don't know, is it more of that or more of that? I know that because I've studied medicine. But finally, you have to come to a point to know what's wrong with you. And when you know what is wrong with you, read as much as possible about that problem. Read a lot of literature. Google it. Read about it. Go to Google and says, natural treatment for, and write your problem for what you have. Read about it. Study. Find what might brought it. What could be the reason in your life that brought this problem? Your diet, lack of sleep, lack of exercise, overworking, lack of liquids, too much coffee, smoking, alcohol, too much meat. Find the reason and fix the reason, deal with the reason. Don't treat the symptoms. So if you have a headache, Tylenol is not the fixing of a problem. It's not a salvation. Tylenol, it's an emergency when you're traveling and you take it because you need to arrive home safely. But when you're at home, find the reason. For me, I drink a lot of liquids. And for me, I know that if it's a really hot day and I have to go outside, I'm guaranteed with a headache, probably from the sun. But I found one solution for myself. I go to cold shower. Cold shower, I'm back in tune. But I know my reasons, I know what causes my headache, and I know how to fix it. Find your reasons. Find how you can fix your problem. But don't be lazy to stick with a symptomatic treatment. Find the cause and fix it.